friends and neighbors. My name is Jorah LaFleur. I'm here with my Wordcraters co-worker, Leah Velez, and we're going to talk a little bit about Wordcraters' latest project, StoryHelix. So, Leah, what is the StoryHelix project?
It's basically just a collection of stories about our community that we are going to all create together. So you'll call in a hotline, you share your story, and then all these stories will be shared on our website so that we can create community together through storytelling.
That sounds awesome. Let me ask you, what makes this different from some of Wordcrafters' other projects that we've done in the past, and kind of, what sets this apart?
So Wordcrafters is really about like the craft of writing. It helps writers grow. It's about crafting stories about yourselves and your lived experiences. But what this project does is it sort of it sticks a little wedge in that a little bit, because it sort of allows us to question who even identifies as a writer. And I think a lot of people sort of turn away from like writer-centered classes because they're like, oh, I'm not a writer, or I'm not a storyteller. And this doesn't ask that you have to be that at all. It's just what is your story? And you don't have to craft, you craft stories every day when you're talking to somebody. Like, I'm crafting a story about this right now. And it's sort of, I think it takes it's hoping to take some of the pressure off of that idea of craft and writing, and yeah, open the playing field a little bit more, so that there's less kind of self-censoring around the term of writer and who gets to be one.
Awesome. So what you're saying is that I don't have to identify as a writer in any way to participate in the StoryHelix project. I just have to be a person in Lane County with a story to share. Is that true?
Bingo. Yeah. You got it. Nailed it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I like it. I do, of course, love the craft of writing. Both you and I work with Wordcrafters in several capacities, partly as teaching artists. So I know we both love helping to empower other people, especially young people, to use their voices in a more powerful way. And the art and craft around writing can do that. And I know we both believe that no one is excluded from the power of storytelling, and so this project really seeks to just open it wide and say we need to hear each other, and we all have stories to tell.
Yeah, and that your story matters, no matter how small or insignificant you feel like it might be. It's not. It's vital.
Absolutely. So that's something that I think may come up as people are hearing about this project or considering it. It's kind of like, oh my God, do I have to have like a funny anecdote that would like kill, like they're on a stand-up stage or something like that? Does it have to be dramatic? Does it have to, involve some form of like, does there need to be a twist or some grandiosity, or do I have to be a performer to tell it? What are your thoughts on that?
No. It doesn't have to have any of those things. I mean, you want to put some thought into what it is that you're trying to convey. Yeah, you want to put some thought into like, what is it you're trying to say? But does it have to be some like big dramatic thing that you would see on Netflix or HBO or whatever? No, not at all. Someone came up to me the other day when I was talking about this, and they were like, my life is boring. I just go to work and I come back. Like, I don't even have a story. And like it broke my heart a little bit, because it's it's that self, like, if you say you have no story, you're denying that, like, you're denying what's actually existing. Like, it takes a story to be anywhere. To be in this world involves a story. Like, everybody got here somehow. Everybody's everybody has a reason why they're here, or I mean, maybe not, but even that's a story. Like, even having no reason for being is a story in one way or another, right? So yeah, whatever your place is, whatever is happening to you, like, there's a story in there, and we want to like open up the doors so that you can tell it.
And what really do you think is the value of someone telling their story and allowing the rest of the community to hear it?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I think, I mean, I kind of want to throw that back at you because I know that you have been
Mhm.
like running spoken word spaces for a really long time in Eugene and the surrounding area. And like, what does it feel like to be in a room? Because I mean, I'm not really part of the spoken word scene. I do written work, but I feel like, yeah, what does it feel like to be in that spoken word scene? Like, what does that community feel like as a participant and as someone who witnesses it?
At its best, it feels like pure connection. So
Hmm.
I say at its best only to say that, of course, there's a vast variety of experiences that people may have had coming to a slam. So I certainly can't speak to, what everyone felt on a given night or with a given poet. But I think at its best, when it's really working, what everybody gets to feel is I am not alone. It's one of the most palpable experiences I've ever had of a human connection that occurs not because you've built a long lasting relationship, but with strangers. There is an intimacy among strangers that can occur when one person is brave enough to share and someone else is generous enough to listen. And it just, the quickness of commonality that occurs to me is one of the most sort of life affirming things I ever get to experience, because with someone we build long-term relationship with, or even something, if I read something that is someone has constructed, a really great author has constructed a whole world. I love reading fiction and I may feel a lot there, but there's something about, this is just another person in my community and they're sharing something sincere and true. This is a true life story from their life, which not all spoken word does that, but a lot does. It tends to be fairly confessional. So there's like an aspect of storytelling in a lot of spoken word. And so you're like, this person is just straight up revealing some very honest stuff about themselves. And again, it doesn't have to be a giant narrative. It can just be how anxious they feel, or something. You're like, you seemed externally like this. And now you're revealing to me this inner truth. And now I feel like I know you and I feel less weird. And it's really just I think an incredible opportunity to feel that sense of connection. The next piece though, and this still creates the feeling of connection, but it comes through a different medium. And that's when you hear a story that is very different from your own, which I think is equally important. And you go, I've never experienced that before. And that can often happen, especially it can just be because someone had a different, a very different upbringing, past, but especially when you walk in a very different body than someone else. And we all do, but we have different identity markers. And sometimes you'll be hearing from someone. And so that opportunity to think, wow, I do not walk in the world with the world treating me in that way or reflecting myself back to me in that way. And it's this amazing opportunity to really get insight into someone else's experience. And so you get an opportunity for empathy, for self-reflection, and that still creates connection, but it happens in a oh, I know. You might not think I know exactly what you mean. You might think I do not know what that is like. And thank you so much for telling me, because now I have this awareness that is important for me to have. And I mean, that's just as much as we're the same, we're all living vastly different lives in the same community. So I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
it broadens your ability to see like your place on the map almost. Like
Mhm.
when you hear someone else's position, like it like gives you reference for where you stand in the world, and it helps you understand that there's a larger map that
Mhm.
that they're part of, which then webs out, and you just get a better sense of the world from that experience.
I see you doing this with your hands, and it occurs to me that this is a very helixy gesture. Can you tell us a little bit about how we came up with the name Story Helix, and why the project has taken on that metaphor?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the whole idea around even the name, we were struggling for a name that would kind of bring all these concepts together, and we landed on the idea of a helix for a couple of reasons. One, because you know it has these kind of connecting pieces, right? So you have the A and the T and the G and I'm going to mess up the words. It's been a long time since I've been in high school biology, but they're,
alphabet in it does.
the letters are connecting, yeah, and they're twisting together, and but more than that, it's if any one of those letters changes, the organism is completely different. So if one of the letters transforms, you've got a whole new being. And what's happened for so long in our country, but and around the world, but specifically in Lane County and in Eugene and Springfield, a lot of the letters of our DNA of our community have been silenced, have been left out, have been forcibly left out, have been forcibly silenced. Or just ignored or pretended like they don't exist. And because of that, we have a really unclear idea of who we are. And because we don't know where we've been, really, because we haven't heard a lot of the stories, and we don't have a good idea of where we are, and then how can we know where we're going, or how can we know how to create futures that are better than the ones that we're currently living? So I mean, for me, StoryHelix is about, one, unearthing stories that haven't been told, two, listening to stories that have been told that just maybe we weren't listening to before, and three, constructing together a new, more reliable sense of who we are and who we might be, if we really recognized who it is that we are.
Mm-hmm. I think this sounds like a fantastic project. If I would like to participate, what do I need to do? How do I get on board with this?
Great question. So out of 3 easy steps. So step 1, you go to StoryHelix, StoryHelix.wordcrafters, WORDCRAFTERS letters.org, StoryHelix.wordcrafters.org. You go to there, then you go to step 1, which is, there are a couple prompts available. We've got 3 up there right now. You pick the one that resonates with you, do a little thinking about that. That's step 2. Think about it, kind of get your answers flowing, think about what you want to say. Step 3, you can either call a number. So if you don't have internet, you just call, if the internet goes out, if it's not super great where you're at, you can call the phone line. You wait to hear the little options. There's a Spanish and English version. And then you just speak your story into the phone line. And that's it. If you prefer not to speak it and you prefer to type it, there's a form there. If you are a person that feels nervous about saying it the first time, and like you feel like you're going to mess up, you can also record it on your phone and upload it to that form as well. So
ooh,
lots of options for you.
Good option. I like that last one where you could do several takes.
Yeah.
That seems fun. Although I also have to say there's something great about just remembering that this is a really candid project, just to bring it back around, this idea that we're not asking, this is not a contest. We're not asking for perfectly crafted stories. We are purposefully asking for a more just, like Leah said, something, take a minute to be thoughtful, because that's just, I think going to make it a more enjoyable experience just for yourself to kind of, like for me, I would probably just have I might just make a couple notes. Oh, here's that, and then let her rip. You'll probably discover some fun details along the way. I happen to know that there is a 10-minute time limit, which I think is a fantastic time limit. So, you don't have to start at the moment of conception. You can just, just give the necessary backstory. I say this for those of us, I don't know, those of us who tend to feel like they need to explain every bit of context possible. Well, you have to understand is that I was wearing a green shirt, and I got that shirt like 5 years ago at a Ross, but it doesn't exist anymore, that Ross. So I'm wearing the green shirt, and like, you don't do that. I mean, if it's part of the story, but yes, don't be me, be you. We can't wait to hear from you. This is it's a really, I can't emphasize enough, I think, what a brave and hopefully somewhat healing thing it is. That's one of the things, I don't know what you're going to get out of it, but back to my experience with watching people do this thing, which does require some courage and some bravery and some real generosity to share your story. I think that on the flip side of that, you're like, why would I want to do this anxiety producing thing? Well, what I have also found, being a stage person myself and watching other people, is that there is something hopefully personally healing, transformative, interesting, playful, some learning and some self-reflection, and hopefully a sense of empowerment in sharing your story. I don't know what it's going to be like for you, but I know that there is a deep value to being heard. And I know how genuinely people want to hear you.
Yeah.
You have any more thoughts on that verbose statement?
Yeah, you had a slogan in there, like "Be you, tell your story." There was a slogan in there somewhere that I think really really nails it. Wherever you are, whoever you are, be you. Call on the phone, tell your story, and we're here for it. We're here to listen to it.
So last question, Leah, where are the stories going to end up? How can people from the community hear their own stories and listen to those of others? Where does StoryHelix live?
It will be living on the StoryHelix website, so storyhelix.wordcrafters.org. They'll be there. You can listen to. You can even call into the hotline afterwards and tell your story in response to someone else's story that you hear. And those will all live on the website there. We're also going to have them on a podcast, so you'll be able to listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. And then coming up, we also have rolling deadlines each month to submit your stories. And if you submit yours by June 20th, you might be considered for Art Walk in August and September, because we've partnered with Lane Arts Council and the Downtown Program Fund in Eugene. And so in August and September, there's going to be displays of stories that have been paired with graphic artists, and those will be up that you can see and read and potentially listen to on a QR code, which is very exciting.
That is so exciting. I love that. So I'm really particularly excited about this partnership. So for anyone who's listening to this before June 20th, please do get your story in at this time. I just think that's so neat to have that graphic visual artist element working in concert with people's stories. And it's going to be, it's going to be so multifaceted. It's just going to be so much media. The good kind. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, Leah Velez, I love working with you. Thank you for all of your hard work on the StoryHelix project and all that you do for Wordcrafters in the community.
Back at you, Jorah.
Cheers, everybody. Call the Helix hotline. Be you. Tell your story. Was that my tag?
Yes, that was
brilliant. Bye for now.